PSGL, George Morgan here and Jack Pinner.
All the lights are currently lit here on track, and it is go, go, go!
Contact between the Mercedes teammates.
Denoso with a crafty manoeuvre up the inside. Masterclass from the Chilean.
Crucial championship points on offer here.
Do not count out Danny Berezne.
Longe has done the job. This is for the win between these two.
Freddie Rasmussen wins the United States Grand Prix.
Alfie Butcher wins for the first time ever. Lucas Blakely takes the championship. It's Barry Foreman.
Jarno Opmeer is your champion.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to PSGL here for a brand new season. It's a brand new game here in the PlayStation TS. We are here for F4 round number 1 of the championship as we take in the fantastic Silverstone circuit. My name is Michael Edwards, going to be your commentator throughout the season, and stepping in tonight for Danny Quinn, who unfortunately couldn't be here, is the man, the myth, the legend, is Mr. Jamie Perry. How are you doing, Jamie?
I'm fantastic. It is a pleasure to be here in PSGL. It is a pleasure to be joined by yourself, and it is a pleasure to be here for round 1, season 37. And wow, what a season we have lined up for us. We have a fantastic calendar starting us off at the home of motorsport itself here in Silverstone at the British Grand Prix. 26 laps of action, but before that we get short qualifying as well, a 5.891 kilometer circuit and a fantastic grid filled to the brim, 20 drivers out of 20. So with that being said, who's ready for qualifying?
I mean, I am all eager and ready for qualifying. As you mentioned, the fantastic of British motorsport as we have a little look at the track in question. 5.8 kilometers, 3.6 miles in length to DRS zones 1 all the way down into left field on the Wellington Straight, and of course 1 on the Hangar Straight going down in towards Stowe. Definitely going to be many of these drivers will know very, very well. It is of course a fan favourite. And of course, we had it in real life as well this past weekend, where of course we saw Lewis Hamilton take the win. And will that inspire any of the drivers out there tonight? Time will tell. But as you mentioned, it is a full grid tonight, full 20 drivers out there going to be trying to set the best lap times possible. And we'll see what happens in the race. But Jamie, any eyes on any of the drivers out there for tonight?
There's a few intriguing names, but with the F1 World Cars, it's kind of hard to go by teams, so I'm going to have to go by drivers here. It's an interesting mix. It's looking extremely balanced at the moment, and I think whoever has decided to choose the grid and what driver goes up or down from Season 36 going into Season 37 has done a fantastic job. But just considering who we have, we also have a few reserves. So we have Sally... Santero and Tio all reserving. Obviously, they'll all be driving for a team, but in a F1 World Car, so there's no point in mentioning the team. Obviously, there's a few good names out there. I have a good pick on maybe Sam, WOR Sam, maybe Alex Gamer as well, but like I said, it's a very even mix. And also, we don't really know what's happening this season. We don't know who may have improved on pace. I believe this is the first season on F1 24 as well. So, and on top of that point as well, as we get into qualifying, we have a new update that dropped a few hours ago, V1.6. So a few big changes that may have happened there was a change in the sensitivity of traction control. Apparently curbs and sausage curbs are now unsettle the car more than they did previously. Apparently if you have a higher amount of engine braking, then locking the tires happens less. You can also get, you know, more, a larger, greater effect on.
Well, as I believe Discord may have just cut out there for my co-commentator Jamie, so obviously I'll take over here as we are on an outlap right now with Freddy. Freddy going to be the first man to get a lap time on the board as he is just coming through Cobb's corner right now. And of course on the outlap, making sure he gets his tyres warmed up, making sure he gets his iron for the circuits. I'm sure many of these drivers will of course have been putting in the practice in to make sure they get the season off to the best start. And we have a prediction for pole position in the chat right now from the man with the legend, Mr. James Head, who you'll be hearing in about an hour's time for F1 action. Says a mid-27s is the time he's predicting here for pole position, but we will see what happens as Freddy's going to be the first man to take us on a lap, and we're going to go completely on board with him by here as we get this lap underway as we come onto the Hamilton straight down in towards turn number 1 as we go through Abbey, then through turn number 2 through Farm, looking for the best braking point possible in towards Village, get that car rotated through as we come through Entree and the loop on to the Wellington Straight, where DRS will be wide open for the drivers, promoting a little bit of overtaking potentially down in towards Brooklands. And of course this is a corner where you can take several lines, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens with a bit of side-by-side action there as we go through left field. All about traction at the edge of left field as we now come onto the national pit straight as we go through Woodcut onto the national pit straight. And it's looking pretty decent from Freddy at the moment as he comes to Cobb's corner. Maximum commitment there, 7th gear for Freddy, and now through Maggot, Beckett and Chapel, where there is absolutely no margin for error as we come through Maggot and Beckett. And now on the exit of Chapel, DRS going to be wide open again as we come down the hanger straight. And of course we're going to be looking for the break-in for Stowe corner. Throw the car in, make sure you keep it nice and tight, don't drift out too wide. He keeps it all in check there. Now in towards Vale, breaking down 3rd gear there for Freddy, now coming through Club, and of course going to be crossing the line, setting a initial lap time of a 1:26.1. So
Manly not far behind as well on P2 at 1:26.556 on a new set of tyres, and Sam as well on P3. Also into the mid-26s, so maybe that 27 has already been abolished, and right now maybe considering into the 25s is very possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if they're doing low 26s on their first flyers, essentially they're bankers, you got to think they're going to find a few tenths improvement as the session progresses. Right now on board with Sam Van Mazerin as he is coming towards Maggot, Beckett and Chapel. Now we're going to see where his middle sector split is looking like as we're getting some more times coming in from the drivers out there on the grid. Here comes Sam though, middle sector 102.6 for Sam.
It's an intriguing middle sector at the moment. We'll have to continue as he goes into Stowe at turn 13. Gets the throttle down, flat to floor, pedal to metal. Finds good traction, but as I mentioned, a few people struggling with understeer and not getting the car turned in. Goes into Vale Chicane, gets out of the exit, quickly gets the throttle down before rotating through back onto the Hamilton straight. 26.078. Good middle sector and a fantastic final sector does get him onto the board in P1. Timing sheets light up in purple, and that is a good 10th ahead of P2 at the moment. And a few more drivers making a few mistakes, I believe. Yellow flag for, I believe that maybe, if I'm not wrong, yeah, you're right, Snipes. So fortunate for him on his side, but get going once again.
Yeah, I was actually on board with Snipes for that. He just got a little bit greedy on the throttle on the exit of left field, and he just lit up the rears and went around. So that's his lap over and done with. We got Reese on the lap right now, coming in towards Stowe corner, and he's thrown it in 6th gear. And he is running low on fuel, so this might help him a little bit in this final sector. So we're going to see what he can do. He's looking to try and beat Sam Van. His middle sector wasn't too far off him. To the line he'll come, and there we go. Less than a tenth of a second. He takes provisional pole for right now.
No, absolutely. That's a fantastic time, and not by much either. Was that only 71 milliseconds? That's incredibly close between P1 and P2. Just shows you how competitive PSGL can be. In F4, looks like P16 of Snipes coming back into the pit lane. No big surprise there. We go down to P20 of Alex Game is currently approaching into Cop's corner, and that is approaching into turn 9, getting the rotation down. Doesn't even need to have a single piece of lift off that throttle there, finding fantastic traction and downforce as he goes into Maggots and Beckett's, and just making to go left and right, sticking onto the apex of each and every corner. Runs a little wide onto the AstroTurf, but just make sure to keep it inside the white line. Does avoid any type of track limits infringement as he continues back up the hill towards turn 13, back into Stowe, downshifts to 6th gear. Once again, just oodling with the throttle, making sure to maximize every single corner to the fullest potential. And it looks like another driver just joining in the session as Mercedes comes around Vale Chicane and into the final corner. What can he set down on the time? It's going to be a 26.788 and only P12 on the board. And though I do say Mercedes, it does look like they've gone for that style of livery, so at least there is an effort by the drivers to try and keep it as close to the real life cars as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, it's unfortunate we couldn't get the real life F1 cars now for this weekend, but hopefully for next week, moving onwards, now we'll be able to make the adjustments now to get the traditional F1 cars back. But I'm currently on board with GT10 Grav Roche, and I hope I pronounced that right, as my pronunciation skills, guys, as you know from the past, it's never been the best. But coming through Maggots and Beckett's now is Grav Roche, as he will come through Chapel. Seems a little bit wide, a little bit all over the place coming through Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel there, and that's definitely affected his middle sector time as he comes down in towards Stowe. Bit of a back end snap on the entry in towards Stowe there, so that's definitely lost him some more time. Honestly, I think he's looking at a mid-26 here.
Yeah, potentially, as he comes around into my apologies, into the final corner at Hamilton Straight, so 126.645. It is the mid-26s, so you are correct on that one, but I don't know, I believe there's a bit more that he can offer. He went wide at a few corners, especially out of the exits of Maggots and Beckett, so I am intrigued to see what he may be able to pull out later into qualifying. Obviously 10 minutes remaining, so there's plenty of time to set down a new time on the board. Looks like a fresh set of C3 soft compound tyres for Celia Dennis in P5 in green. Looks like F1 World Car, trying to figure out what car is what.
What car is what indeed, but right now the only car that matters is the one on pole position right now, and that is of course Reese at 26.007. Currently the time to beat for all these drivers out there on the grid. Will we see anyone dip into the 25s on their second run of laps, as I believe Freddie either has just completed his lap or he's just starting a lap. In fact, no, he is on a lap as he is coming down the old national pit straight, the old traditional pit straight from way back in the day. If anyone remembers, where he used to be down the national pit straight to get started with Cox's turn 1. Of course, times have changed now, but coming through Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel, of course, Freddy here. Let's see what the middle sector split is saying, as he might get a little bit of a long-range tow from the car up ahead. Run down now in towards Stowe, breaking down 6th gear, the gear choice there for Freddy, and he is marginally up on his time. He needs to find a little bit more if he wants to put himself on provisional pole. Coming through the Vale and Club section now to the line, onto the Hamilton Street he'll go, and it's into the 25, so it's 25.9 for Freddy.
Incredible time, first one into the 125, 7 minutes on the clock though, plenty of opportunities for drivers to sneak back in and really look at the deficit at the moment. I mean, between P1 to P4, there's only a tenth separating them, so it really just shows you how close it is at the moment. Looks like the McLaren Esports livery car, which is just representing McLaren, going down into turn 13 at Stowe, and that is obviously Sem 12, 2004, as he makes his way back down in elevation towards into Vale chicane, breaks at the 50-meter board, and then gets a rotation through into Vale, and once again gets the throttle down. Can P4 find any type of improvement on the board? Well, it's a 26.088. It is a 10th improvement, stays in P4, however, only 10 milliseconds off P3, so he has definitely started to close down that gap, but not enough. Another driver just coming across the timing line. Do believe that is someone just starting their fast lap at the moment, and a few more drivers going spinning round at the final couple of corners, and I also believe it is a pink in coloured car coming across the line.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was Joris Alex Food that just crossed the line there. 4 times improvement there for Joris, and honestly, I was going to say something as well with Sem's lap time. In the first sector, it showed that he was 3 tenths up, and he lost all that time in the middle and final sector. So there's definitely time there for Sem to get himself up the order, and he will be slightly encouraged. But slightly more encouraging is Sergioli going up onto provisional pole there, improving on Fede's lap time, and this is going to be interesting. All these times very close at the top right now. It's going to be literally who can find a few thousandths, a few hundredths of a second. That's all that's going to separate them. As I believe we just had Sam crossing the line, showing a bit of improvement as well up in the P4 for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Just currently going on board with Alex Gamer in P14, as you mentioned, did invalidate, which is unfortunate on his side. P16 is Niels, currently entering into the second sector and into Maggots and Beckett, as in the background, Reese setting down a new purple time by quite a significant amount as well, at least by PSGL standards, a 125.851 to P2 with a 125.925, looking well and truly competitive here for this qualifying session. With 5 minutes 35 still on the clock, really does start to show you. Big kick on the rear there from Niels as he enters into Stowe, runs just a little bit too wide, and back into the pit lane he comes from invalidation.
Yeah, unfortunate there for Niels, as he's not going to find the improvement he needs, as we've got Solax out there on the lap right now coming through Cobb's corner. It seems a little bit jittery for me, so maybe a bit of a connection issue there for the man down in P19.
Yeah, potentially. Don't know what may have happened on his side, but we can only assume and presume. But Solax currently going into the second sector, a 103.181, so looking fast at the moment. P19 could be much higher. No time on the board at the moment, so nothing to improve on. As I say that, looks like he ran wide and has spun, but looks like just big internet conditions for Solax at the moment as he enters into Vale chicane. Not really sure what's happening on his side, but whatever the case may be, entering into the final corner and across the line, it's going to be a 27.179. So whatever the case may be, few internet problems, but has come across the line nevertheless.
Yep, and the man just beginning the second sector of his lap. Gravoch currently down in P12, marginally down in the first sector as he comes forward now onto the national pit straight as he flies down in towards Cobb's corner, throws the car in. Maximum commitment needed for Cobbs, and it's always been the same. It's one of those corners where you just have to throw it in and try and take as much of it as you possibly can. But through Maggots and Beckett's now in towards Chapel. Just an invalidation there, just out too far wide, and he was over a 10th up in the middle sector, and Gravoch is going to be, I'd say, slightly annoyed with that.
I mean, he's definitely going to be irritated. It's never nice when you're on a fast lap, especially when you're really in the zone. You have your head down, you're really in that just place of peace and calm and tranquility, and you're trying to focus. All of a sudden, you go over white line by maybe a few inches, a few centimeters, and you're invalidated. You have to come back into the pit lane for a fresh set of C3 soft compound tires around Silverstone. It's not exactly the best situation for any driver to be in, but unfortunately it does happen. And no, it's never a nice feeling when you do invalidate. Another driver who is still in the circuit, and actually the only driver who was in circuit before, looking to come into the pit lane. A few more issues on Solax's side, at least from what I'm seeing on my screen, just glitching a little bit. But in P16 with a 27.179, I believe we are getting a few drivers coming out of the pit lane all in one go, more towards the front of the field, as just a few people getting into gear now.
Yeah, and this is the calm before the storm, guys, as we come to the end of qualifying. All these drivers out there on track are going to be getting themselves psyched up, getting mentally prepared. They have one more chance, one opportunity to take the first pole position of the season. And obviously, looking at the times we've seen so far, right now, Reese currently out on top, 25.8. He's got about 7. Oh, it's, actually, Sergio is actually retired from qualifying, so he's done for the remainder of this session. What I was going to say is, do we think anyone's going to be able to top Reese this time?
I don't know, it's a tricky one. A 25.851 isn't exactly an easy one to beat out. However, I must admit, I was commentating a league yesterday, and I believe it was a 25.7 flat was the time that was set for pole position. In a place like PSGL, I believe it's definitely possible, and I definitely think we could probably just get a little bit more closer to the 25.6s. It's definitely pushing it for what these drivers could potentially, uphold in terms of their pole laps, but it's possible. And if all these drivers just keep their focus at an absolute high, make sure they're at their absolute peak in terms of focus, they find every single little increment of the circuit, then it's definitely possible to find time on the board. I believe the first one who will be on a firing lap is Celia Dennis in P8 as he comes around the final corner, just finally getting some final bits and pieces of warmth in his tires. He comes across the timing line, the first of many to set down their final times here in PSGL. For round 1, season 37, comes around the first couple of corners and then into, I believe, turn 3, 4, and 5, which will be Village, and then the loop, and then you get onto the straight at Aintree, getting nice and close onto the curb on the outside line before going right back onto the inside to maximize the delta possible. He has your current P1 sitter right behind him, DRS active, before it immediately shuts on the rear wing, getting the rotation onto the apex before just opening up the corner just a little bit further now and continuing on as he continues to push the limits, already out of
Again, I believe, unfortunately, Discord has cut out for my co-commentator there, as Dennis is currently, unfortunately, 3 times down in Sector 1. So I'm going to see if we find any more through Sector 2. If not, we'll jump on the man looking to improve on his provisional ball time. In fact, here we go, Dacian validation for Dennis as we now jump on board with Reese. As I believe Reese has actually backed off his lap, so maybe wasn't happy with his lap, but we will see if he's going to find the improvement. Joriso over a 10th up in the middle sector as he comes down in towards Stowe, and in fact there's not going to be any more time because the checker flag is out in this session. So now we are going to see as Joriso will be the first man to get a lap time across the line, and let's see what he's going to do. He is up on his time. It's going to be provisional pole. It is provisional pole for Joris. Is anyone going to be able to top him? Ready, big mistake through Beckett and Chapel there. Has Sam right now invalidated. So Sam's not going to be improving on his time. Sam's not improving on his time. We just had Santiago go up into P5 there. As we're getting times coming in left, right, and Senders. Ismail has just popped up the order as well, up into P6 for him. As we got Alex Gamer, 4 times up on his time. He's looking to climb himself up the order a bit. This will get him around about the top 10 if he can hold on to what he's currently gaining on his previous best. Has Soapbox there up in the P3, 25.8 for Soapbox, and here comes Alex Gamer to the line. It's P10 for him, and we have one more man to cross the line. And Solax
only P18.
P18 in the end for him. Not ideal, but Joris here pulling out the time when it mattered, right at the end of the session. So let's run you through the order one more time. Is of course Joris likes food on provisional pole position with a she's on pole position I should say with a 25.825, just 26 thousandths of a second ahead of Reese, who joins him on the front row. Soapbox in 5th with Sergio in 4th, Freddie in 5th with Santiro in 6th, Ismo in 7th with Sam Van in 8th, Sam in 9th with Alex Schema rounding up the top 10. Outside the top 10 we got Gravroach, Mentos, Salas, Dennis, Kevin, Niels, Sam, Milky, Solax, Snipes, and at the back we do have, as I am trying to remember off the top of my head now, it did fly off pretty quick there. but it is a bit cloudy out there.
Yeah, just checking. But yeah, it is overcast conditions at the moment. Doesn't look like it's going to rain at all. I do apologize for the Discord issues. I am trying to get it fixed at the moment, but we are getting pretty close to the race start here and really starting to bring ourselves closer to some racing action here for round one for PSGL. One of the opening rounds for the, at least PS side. Obviously, PC has already gone racing and we had some fantastic action on display. But this is PlayStation's opportunity to see what they can do and see how they can showcase their driving ability.
Yes, and
away from light.
And before we jump into the race, guys, we'll be back after these messages. Okay, guys, there we go. The first qualifying session of the season in the bag. And of course, what a qualifying session we was treated to. And it was Tio in the end that did what's called cross the line. Well, actually didn't set a lap time, but it was Tio who will be starting from the back of the grid. But Joris setting the lap time where it mattered, right at the end, right at the death, and taking advantage of the fact that Reese, Sergio, Fede, they just weren't able to find the lap times at the end, Jamie.
No, they just couldn't seem to do it. Making a few mistakes out on circuit, very minute mistakes, but they were still there. Like I said, it's about finding that perfect lap time, finding little increments, little just parts, almost centimeters close to the white line to maximize your lap. You only get that one opportunity, especially when the time is so close in qualifying. And for one driver and one driver alone, he managed pole position. For others who've managed P2 and P3. Either way, 5 red lights. The lights go out and it's Peltometal here for round one in PSGL. It's a good getaway by Joris Likes Food, and Reese will stay in P2. P3 of Soapbox on the outside line. Can he bring himself any closer to potentially make a move down into turn 3 as he continues to bring himself towards the 50-meter board? Around the outside goes Soapbox, but now it's a few drivers making their way up in position. Looks like it's Sergioli to start up, going into P3. No problems, no fighting as he continues upwards, but now it's Freddy up to P4 as he continues his push upwards in positions. It looks like there's also Alex Gamer doing the exact same thing, up to P11, falls down to P12 though. Soapbox making a few more mistakes in the exit and entry of every single corner they seem to participate in, and now he's down to P6, a few more positions to come against them, and right now that still sees Jorish up into P1, 6/10, already separating him as Reese continues his push at the moment, and good start overall in the race. Looks like someone's been pushed wide, and that's Santero down to P10 now, as looks like Sam Van goes up to P9, goes into Maggots and Beckett's all good and clean, all swell as it looks like Mentos as well, looking to try and bring himself closer, can't seem to close the gap down, and as they go onto the hangar straight, looks like a big few positions being lost out for Alex Gamer in the Mercedes as he goes off the track.
Yeah, and looking at the split in the tyre strategy as well from a lot of these guys, most of them are grid currently up there on the set of Sauce, but you're seeing the advantage that the Sauce have compared to the mediums. So we're on board with Sam Van, having a look down the inside into the Vale chicane on Grav Roach and almost getting the move done there. He almost got the switchback line as well on the exit coming through a collab, but has to settle in behind Grav Roach for the time being.
Yeah, absolutely. We can see a mixture of the C3 and C2 soft and medium compound tyre. Seems to be the tyre of choice. Looks like Gravroach now falling down to P9. Will to action, still 2 abreast as they enter into, looks like the loop around Silverstone. Still Will to Will as they get back on to the Wellington straight. Just the outside line working better for Sam Van Marison in P8. As we enter into Brooklands, it's now position gained for the blue and colour car. And still in close contention is the Alpine in P9. Gravroach is going to continue to bring himself closer together, and looks like an ERS light already being flashed upon Sam Van, clearly just dumping that battery a little too quickly at the moment. Alex Gamer up to P18 against Niels in P19. We also have WR Sam falling down and fighting for position through turn 9 at Cops. Turn 13 would be Stowe, and Maggots and Beckett seemingly just starting to straighten out the pack a little bit. Lack of fighting taking place there. And Joris now starting to lose a gap to P2. Reese now down to 0.3 of a second. Has a bit of a slipstream in tow. Does he have look at a potential advantage move? No, stays in P2 for the time being, but he's down to a 10th and a half and really starting to bring himself closer. It looks like Celia Dennis up to P12, fighting away with Sam.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously this is going to be interesting with the split in the tyre strategy between Reese and Joris here. At what point does the soft tyres begin to fall away, as we're seeing fastest lap times coming in from several drivers? Sam Van with a 29 flat at the moment. But right now, I mean, it seems like as we got our first retiree from the session.
That's Solax.
Solax, is that into the pits, or was that on the exit of the club?
Look, no, it's in the pit lane. It is in the pit lane, and to be honest, it doesn't surprise me too much. He had a few mistakes at the start of the race, and it seemed to have a few internet problems. It is unfortunate for the driver, who now finishes in P20, and no points coming towards his name at the start of the season, so we'll need a better result going into round 2 here in the calendar. But as racing continues, the top 3 has really started to tighten up at the moment. 3.5 tenths separating between P1 and P2, and now only 2.5 tenths between P2 to P3, so the podium positions really starting to be fought for at the moment, and even P4 of Freddie really starting to close down that gap, and the deficit is really starting to tighten through the field. As we get back onto the hangar straight and into the 3rd sector, there is a yellow flag out, but that is just for an exiting car who had already retired, and it looks like with DRS active, inside line, it's Reese who goes up to P1, and into 1st position goes the orange and colour car. McLaren finds position, sends the move, no problems there, and it's already another race leader for the Silverstone Grand Prix here in F4.
Yeah, absolutely. Reese getting that overtake down with the assistance of DRS, and Sergio wasn't too far off making that move as well. Snipes 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and yeah, he's come in and he has retired from the session, immediately leaving the session as well. So unfortunate there for Snipes. But right now we're looking on board with this battle for the race lead. Now with Reese up ahead, he's going to be the one under pressure now, because now Joris has the advantage of DRS, and he's actually going to use it to full effect. He's going to go for the move. No, he's not. He's going to sit in behind Reese for the time being. And honestly, considering he is on the soft of the tyres right now between himself and Reese, are you surprised that he's sitting in behind, or do you think he's going to try and use Reese as best as possible to tow himself along, maybe extend his stint as long as he can?
Well, something I've really started to notice, especially with Silverstone, obviously I've done a few league races recently around this track, and something I've really noticed, a nice pattern, is because the C3s are right down the middle of the Pirelli range, they are the most balanced tyre in terms of grip and tyre wear and tyre temperature. Something I'm really starting to notice is, looks like, yeah, you can see Sergio Oli in P3 looking to potentially make a move up to P2, does get it on the outside line, goes into the braking zone, downshifts the 5th gear, gets the rotation, needs to get the throttle down, does do so, and it's up to P2 for Sergio. And yeah, just as my point I was continuing with, yeah, it just seems like C3 is such a balanced tyre, getting the grip and the traction as Mentos goes up to P12, and it just seems to allow for a perfect amount of grip, but do not count out the C2s. They do last longer, and it can actually end up being a much better strategy if you start on the mediums, because you get the better grip on the softs later into the race. But something that normally happens is near towards lap 25, lap 26, the softs and mediums become pretty equal with one another.
Yeah, and right there, just saying, we just saw Joris under a little bit of pressure from Freddie for that P3 position. As it looks like Freddie now starting to put the pressure on. He's having a look down the inside in towards Brooklyn as Joris tries to have a little peek around the outside on Sergio. They all stay line. A certain switchback though from Freddie. Gets alongside, little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact, but they both get away with it. Scot-free, and Joris holds on to position.
Classic Brooklands and Luffield racing at its finest, and that's where we normally see a lot of switchbacks. We've seen it in real life with Lewis Hamilton as well. He loves going on that outside line, maximising the circuit, and clearly for Freddie in P4, he looked for it, couldn't get the traction down out of the exit of Luffield, however, and going into Woodcote, he had to fall back down to P4, really maximising his way through into Maggots and Beckett's, however, could have a good opportunity with DRS and his nice slipstream and tow, but as we go up to P1 and P2 on the outside line, Sergio's going to go for it, and does do so. Fantastic move at Stowe at turn 13, up to P1 on those medium compound tyres.
Yep, Sergio getting the move done on Reese as Freddie gets through on Joris as well. synchronized overtakes right there with the help of DRS, and there is Dennis there with a 3-second time penalty, the first 3-second time penalty of the session, 6 laps in to the race, and see, that's not going to build him with much confidence, but everyone around him will be loving the sight of that.
No, absolutely. This is definitely going to be interesting in terms of strategy later into the race. Tio's on the hard compound tyres, 4/10 down on Niels at the moment, bringing himself closer already. The hards normally isn't a choice I would go for, but maybe the drivers have some insight knowledge that I'm not aware of in terms of tyre dog. Obviously, we've had the new update as the Alpine down at P14. That is Manley going up to P14, and I believe that Santero falling down to P11 against a fight with Sam, who now makes another position upwards and onwards. And as we once again make our way right up to the front of the field, still close racing, just separated by another 10th or 2.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's going to be another switch for the race lead with the help of DRS. The question is, though, will Freddie be able to follow Reese through? Because he is close on the back of Reese, so with the help of DRS, he might potentially be looking at a possible double overtake. Yeah, we're going to find out, because it's going to be almost free wide there momentarily, but
Wow.
It's Freddie down the inside of Reese into Stowe. There's still wheel to wheel, and Freddie, is he going to be able to do it? He's going to hold the outside line for the Vale chicane. Reese, nothing he can do about it. Just Freddie had the grip around the outside. All he can do is look for the switchback, try to get a better exit, and he has got the better exit, but it's not going to be enough down in towards turn number 1.
Wow, what incredible racing on display. That was incredibly close. And what a send down the inside by Freddie. Had slight contact with Reese in P2, and it just a bit of a squeeze, but it still worked out in the favor. No damage to anyone on circuit, and it was a clean overtake. So that now sees Reese with a big opportunity down the Wellington straight. DRS as well, trying to use the slipstream in tow, but stay out of the dirty air of P1, so he will stay in P2 for the time being. But is he also considering the DRS down at the hangar straight, going into the third and final sector? Does he want to stay behind him for the entirety of the second sector and continue his momentum through Maggots and Beckett's?
I think that is the plan for Reese
Oh,
right now.
Niels goes spinning.
Yeah, yellow flag there for Niels in the back. It's gone for a spin and coming onto the Hamilton straight, and look at how close Reese is getting on the entry in towards Maggots and Beckett. Now looking at the best run possible out of Chapel. Looks very smooth through Chapel, does Reese, and that's going to help him massively here, as with DRS it's going to be a job done before we even get to the braking for Stowe. And look at that, Sergio around the outside, tucks back in behind, but Sergio doesn't want to risk it, and Freddie has to settle down for P2. Bit of a snap on the rear though for Freddie. A bit of rear lock in there, I believe that was.
Yeah, really close racing at the moment, and I did believe that may have been a move stuck in stone for Sergio, but he had to back out of it. Couldn't keep the traction with him. He would have lost the rear end of the car. You could see it starting to slip away. And like I said, this new model of handling we're clearly getting with this new update added into F1 has clearly caused a few problems for a few drivers as they start to really re-enable themselves back into the game. Sergio will stay in P3, but not too far behind. He'll still keep DRS for P2, and P2 once again looking for another opportunity down the Wellington. But I do highly doubt he's going to go for the move, and yes, does lift off the throttle before going into the braking zone, going into Brooklands, and then Luffield to follow into a hairpin. So yeah, it's just close racing at the moment, and a big back and forth between the top contenders at the moment. The midfield has also been exciting. Looks like Sam Van also looking to potentially make a move on Soapbox down in P7. Let's keep an eye out on the top front. But Niels with a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane, I can only assume, and it is a retirement. That is the third retirement in only 8 laps of action. No safety car, however, or no virtual safety car as well, so making sure to keep it all nice and clean, no debris on circuit, no safety cars are needed, and back onto the back straight, or here on the hangar straight. Is this an opportunity for Freddie?
Yeah, potentially. It's actually Sergio there. Almost getting on the grass. It's Freddie. Stens one down the inside into Stowe. A bit of contact there with the front right of Reese's car, and I think he conceded the position line back through, but that's caused Sergio all types of problems. So he's gone up onto the sausage curb, losed out the position to Ismail, potentially to Joris as well. Meanwhile, in the background, I mean, we saw Sen get through on Soapbox as well, down the hangar straight, and honestly, it's getting a little bit scrappy now at the front.
Yeah, Softs should be boxing pretty soon around now, anywhere between lap 9 to maybe lap 11, lap 12 is where we're probably going to see these guys coming into the pit lane, so it's going to be intriguing. We already have our first one. That's Celia Dennis down in P16. Close racing still near the top end of this field, and it looks like Frida's really starting to think about it, but no, still backing out of it, staying in P2, doing what we've seen so many times before. And you're right, down the inside, goes down Soapbox, now switching to the outside as he goes into Luffield, just being squeezed out and blocked out like a barricade by Sem12 in P6, really making sure to stop like a bus and allow for no opportunity to overtake. And Samban and PA also bring himself closer at the moment, going into Cop's Corner. Racing really starting to fire up in the midfield.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, everyone other than Dennis and Tio all in a train, in the DRS train with each other. So one mistake, you could lose several positions here. And that is what we like to see, highly competitive action up and down the field. As it doesn't look like Fede is going to go for the move, but Soapbox does get through on scene. Up in the P6 goes Soapbox, and we'll be seeing any of the front runners coming in off their softs. No, we will not for the time being at least, as we are about to begin lap number 10 of 26. Reese still leads the way, Fede in second, and Ismo in third.
Manley also going onto the grass, so he's lost a few positions out of that, and will find himself roughly 27 seconds off when he will start to join Celia Dennis down in P16 from that box. And also looks like Ismail up to P3 down the inside. Goes the P3 driver, but still fighting away for that podium position. Around the outside goes Sergio, and you want to hold on for dear life at the moment. DRS active for the both drivers as they go two abreast down the Wellington Straight. Going into Brooklands, it's still too wide. Going into Luffield, and they are continuing to fight away, giving barely any opportunities for any of these drivers to make any type of mistake as we continue out of the exit through Woodcote and onto the old National Pit Straight. It's once again Sergio up to P3. Ismail is really starting to join in on a four-way battle for the front end of this field, and he's looking to try and stick with them going into Maggots and Beckett's.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what we saw there was, of course, the change. Obviously, the mediums now becoming to be the better of the compounds to be on, as we're starting to see the softs just losing out with the grip advantage. Well, the grip degradation from the softs versus the mediums, as Fede with DRS gets the move done on Reese. Back into the race lead goes Fede, as we're seeing movement happening in the back of the field as Kelvin and Alex Gamer, they go side by side with Sam Van and Sem momentarily side by side, and I believe Sem now into the pits as he'll be the first of the top lot to come into the pits and change onto the set of mediums.
No shock by me. It is a soft compound runner, the second soft compound runner to come in. 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Manley is the next driver to now retire. Wasn't even dead last, and he wasn't exactly off the pace. He went across the grass, but he definitely had an opportunity to come through field. Clearly the driver not feeling happy with himself and has retired from the race, so unfortunate for him. Now down to 16 on the field, still racing, still alive in this race, and really trying to push themselves back in through the field on their current strategy. Reese in P2, bringing himself closer through Woodcote, but top field really just seemingly to make the moves through into the third and final sector, where they can keep it all the way until they reach rather the Wellington Straight or all over again near towards Hangar.
Absolutely, and of course, lap 11 of 26, Fede leads the way, Reese in second, Sergio in third, Ismail in fourth, Joris, the pole sitter, down in fifth at the moment, and he's doing well as Joris to hold on, but here comes Reese now, looking for the move on Fede. He needs to get his job done because those soft tyres are only going to slow him down even more if he stays behind him, as it gets a little bit scrappy, free wide on the exit of Stowe momentarily as Reese, Sergio and Fede gets very close to absolute catastrophe right there.
Incredibly close. We have more drivers coming into the pit lane. That's Joris as well coming in. And someone's gone off.
That's
and that
Fede.
is into the barrier on the Hamilton Straight. It is Freddie, a man who was fighting for P1 for majority of that race. Finds himself now down another few positions, down to P9. Goes Freddie, and that is disastrous for his race and for his strategy. And that has gone horrifically wrong. Sergio takes the lead of the British Grand Prix for round 1 for F4. Reese now follows in close pursuit in P2. I'm
not sure if there was a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact between Fede and Sergio there through a collab, but heartbreak there for Fede. He was up there doing so well in the battle, in the race winning battle, I should say, as well. And just one moment, and he is now all the way down in P9, and essentially we could maybe put him all the way down to P15, because once he does make that pit stop, that is where he'll end up coming out after the time he lost facing into the barrier.
Absolutely, and it's going to be a tricky one for him. I do believe from him being on those soft compound tires, it's very easy to go over to the mediums. They're another really balanced tire, the C2s. They do have really nice endurance as Reese goes around the outside, going into Stowe at turn 13, up to P1. Goes the McLaren driver, no problems on his side. Mentos up to P7 as well, really squeezing out there Alex Gamer and the Mercedes. Alex will continue on in P7, more drivers continuing to make their way into the pit lane. Ismo as well joining him. Sergio still in P2 with Reese, and we're really starting to reach that strategic point in this race. Like I said, a lot of the soft compound runners, anywhere between lap 9 to lap 12 is where we're going to really start to see them diving into the pit lane, and that is exactly what's taken place. There is no longer anyone on the soft compound tires. They will all be switching over rather to the mediums or the hards. And this is where we get to see the second stint for these drivers, and where we get to see how these other medium drivers who are still out on their current stint and how they're trying to fight that on.
An interesting choice here. Obviously, Mentos has come in. He's put on a set of soft compound tires. So, Mentos, the first of the medium runners, they're put on a set of the soft compound, which is very intriguing, because obviously the softs, they will be quicker, and it might end up working out for him. But I don't know. He'll have a bit of fresh air to push into, that is for sure, before he catches up to the back of Kevin. But it's going to be a risky strategy for Mentos if he is going to be looking to take those tires all the way to the end.
Look, degradation is high at the moment. Those mediums have been working much better at the moment. I mean, you can already see a lot of these drivers are on 12 laps, but obviously more fighting towards the front end of the field, all over again. Sergio on the outside line, doesn't need to wait for a single second, kicks out the rear, gets the throttle down, uses the downforce to keep himself up into P1, and Reese has to back out of it as he stays on the inside. But the point I was making before, with these tires, it seems with the soft compound tires, they reach around lap 11, lap 12, and that's kind of their limit. Obviously, it's not puncture range, but that's when you're really starting to lose your grip, and you're going to start losing more pace. The seam goes up to P6, and it's just where you, kind of find yourself stuck. So it's important that you kind of find that right time to switch, especially if you're on the medium, switching to the softs, and I think Mentos has boxed a little bit too early.
Yeah, as we just saw Sam Van and Ismo side by side through the Vale chicane into club. And it is Sam Van that does get that position in the end. One thing I was going to bring up as well, obviously, it seemed a bit of the earliest out of all these guys. Of course, the undercut appears to have worked very well for him. He is now ahead of Joris, and Joris was in P5 when he came into the pits. You would think right now, Sam's in a net race lead here.
You'd like to believe so. It's definitely possible. I mean, for the drivers who have definitely switched over to the mediums from their soft compound tires, they're in a good opportunity for an undercut. Obviously, we saw Seam go up to P7 and Joris also up to P6, sending a move through Brooklands and then keeping it into Luffield to the midfield, really starting to spice it up a little bit more. And also Sam Van 4/10 down. But yeah, no, it's intriguing. It's definitely starting to tighten up, because the longer these drivers on the 13-lap-old medium compound tires, there's also Reese around the outside, racing around the front of this field, especially around Stowe. Really staying nice and active, but into the pit lane comes Reese from P1.
And now we're going to see how good the undercut...
How this undercut goes.
Yeah, exactly. As Reese is in, so is Alex Gamer. But let's go on board with the likes of Joris and Seam here as they come through Stowe, and we're going to see where Reese comes out relative to him. Of course, he stayed out a few laps longer on those mediums. He's about to switch over to the soft compound tyre, and we're going to see if Reese is going to be...
Oh, Mentos is out.
Oh, safety car.
Safety car's deployed. Yeah, Mentos is out. He hit the barrier. I believe that was just at the exit of Stowe at turn 13. Unfortunately, it looked like he was coming into the pit lane, and clearly, from what I can see, maybe not even doing that. I believe his tyres may have been too cold for the current temperature that Silverstone is at, and Sam is going to be the next driver, except him retiring in the pit lane. But I believe it was Mentos who may have just not had his tyre temps up to the correct amount, losing the rear end of the car, getting a bit too overzealous on the throttle, and that is now the 5th driver out of this race. And unfortunately, Sam to join him in the pit lane. So we're down to 14, and a safety car has now been deployed. And this also changes things as well. How will people battle with the strategy if they switch to the soft compound tires? They get at least 2 to 3 laps where they can keep it under quite a similar condition than when they had it when they first came out of the pit lane.
course, and Reese obviously making his pit stop just as the safety car, well, he's just coming out of the pit lane as the safety car was deployed. For Sergio, Soapbox and Santero though, this is a free pit stop for them now, and I believe they got just enough of a gap that they might be able to just hold on to the top 3 positions. We're going to see though as Joris is on the hanger straight and the top 3 are all in the pits. We're going to see if any of the other guys on the set of mediums do jump in and put on a set of softs. And with it about to become lap 16 of 26, we're in for a very exciting end to this race.
I see lots of red compound tyres, and to be honest, it doesn't surprise me. Going off of my telemetry, it does say anywhere between lap 11 to 23. If a safety car is deployed, that is the tyre choice to go for. If you are on the mediums and you know, a safety car comes out anywhere between lap 11 to 23, switch to the soft compound tyres, and that's exactly what they have done. So Sergio in P1, Soapbox P2, P3, Santero, all switching to those C3 soft compound tyres, plus the safety car, which will give them at least 3, well, at probably more of a maximum of 3 laps without needing to really put too much strain on the tyres, can give them an extra boost, extra just amount of time where they don't, like I mentioned, not too much strain, not too much stress on the tyres, and keep them in that optimal grip and temp range for a longer period of time, and also mean they can carry it with ease to the end of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. And one guy out there on the grid right now, Tio, this is why you never give up. He's been at the back the entire race, but this safety car now brings him back into the race, and he can now start to see if he can get himself into the points paying positions, because he was struggling at the back for the longest of time, obviously having to make that early pit stop onto a set of hard compound tyres, and he's been losing time ever since, driving around on his own. But now, safety car out, he's able to get himself back into this race, and that just shows what happens when you don't give up.
Absolutely, and I think it kind of makes sense with the hard compound tyres. I mean, they are pretty easy definition of a safe tyre. You know, if you go on those hard compound tyres, you could easily go a good maybe 15 to 20 laps and not really have to worry about degradation or strain on your tyres until you really start reaching near the end of that race. It really is one of those tyres that you can go. It really endures quite a lot. But that's the problem. When it comes to strategy and when it comes to at least needing to box once your hards, they become kind of useless to you, especially seeing that drivers would be boxing onto fresher tyres, softer compound tyres, if that's mediums or the softs. It just doesn't work out as well. So good to see Tio switching to those mediums. And also, I have a question for you. What about from P15 to P20? All those drivers who have ended up retiring, if that was to damage or going off the circuit, now that safety car is deployed, do you think they're regretting that decision?
Oh, absolutely. Every single driver that has come into the pits, and whether it's out of pure frustration or whether it was damage, right now I think they will be regretting their choice, unless of course they got damage which could not be repaired. But I mean, for Tio, this shows exactly why you don't give up, because you never know what can happen in racing. You never know what can happen here in F4 on the PlayStation TS in PSGL for season 37, first race of the season. We are going to be in for a highly exciting end to this race. Sergio leading the way, Soapbox second, Santero in third, Joris there on mediums in fourth, going to be a little bit out of sync with the guys in front of him, and of course Reese in behind him on those fresh softs as well. Interesting is going to be if that top 5 can break away from the likes of Seam, from the likes of Ismail, from the likes of Samvan, because they are on older medium tyres.
Yeah, I mean, right now, let's consider the fact that our top 3 are currently on a fresh set of soft C3 compound tyres. Now, in a normal situation, if driving were to occur, they would already be on the softs by lap 17, right? And if there wasn't a safety car, then they would already be signed to put more temperature into it, more strain, especially in a place like Maggots and Beckett's that they're currently driving through. It would cause more problems for them by the time they reach lap 26, and that's the point I was making before about how normally between that period of time it becomes quite equal between the softs and mediums, as it looks like safety car is coming in this lap. Green flag is waving, but like I said, the point I'm making, because of this safety car, softs has the advantage now against any medium compound tyre, and it will work better in their favour. please be my guest and take this away. This is going to be a fantastic start.
Yeah, absolutely on board right now with Soapbox, waiting to see when Sergio is going to go. He is weaving, trying to get some heat into those tyres, and he will dictate the pace now as we come down in towards the Vale chicane. So get ourselves underway for lap 18 of 26. Safety car is in this lap, and a big snap at the rear there for Sergio, but we are back to green flag racing once again. Sergio gets us underway, and looks like Sam Van has had an absolutely horrendous restart. He's gone all the way down to the back of the field.
He's already missing an end plate as well. Looks like Gravroach is up to P10 as well, making a move against Deadly Dennis P11. Midfield continuing to fight away. 600ths of a second separating between Soapbox and P2 and Sergio and P1. The race lead currently being contended. Now it's between P3, Will to Will, 2 abreast as they go onto the Wellington Straight. Now look at Santero and P3. Slipstream and Toe is going to bring himself closer towards the top 3. Can't seem to get it done as it looks like a barricade between Sergio and Soapbox. Sergio now down to P2. Soapbox is up to P1. Sergio no pulls down a position. Reese is back up to P4. Those soft compound tyres working to perfection as he continues to make himself closer towards the front of the field. McLaren right now pushing to the absolute limit. So are the other drivers near the front of the field. The medium's clearly falling away a little bit further, and the strategy not working out for the drivers in the midfield as it continues on. It's pretty much towards the front of the field, a 5-way battle as we get onto the hangar straight. It looks like P1 has really started to break away from it. 4 tenths separating it, but a look at Sergio now approaching with Slipstream and Toe. Can't seem to get it done as we go a little further down. Santero staying at P3, Reese still staying at P4. What a fantastic safety car restart.
Absolutely, as Soapbox getting through into the race lead. Reese getting himself up into P4, getting himself ahead of that medium runner as DRS is now enabled. And lap 19 of 26, as you mentioned, it seems like this is going to be a contest between the top 5, but for how much longer? Because you've got to think, with those medium tyres, will Joris just eventually fall away? I mean, Seam is holding on to, well, holding on for dear life right now with DRS as he's around 8 tenths of a second off the back of Joris, and right now, as Sam Van into the pits, retires from the session. Heartbreak for him, was doing so well in this race, was Sam Van. What we got right now is these soft runners getting very, very close to each other. I believe Santero there almost touching the back of Sergio, and that could have been a heartbreak for him. It could have been a bit of wing damage, but you are starting to see that gap begin to build between Reese and Joris now. As we go through Cop's corner, the top 4 on the soft compound tyres beginning to break away.
It's clear to see Joris, I mean, like you mentioned, mediums and softs really starting to show a bit more of a deficit, and this is the point I was making. The safety cars really helped out in terms of grip and temperature, and now we get to see softs fight away. Sergio on the inside line, gets the move stuck in stone, up to P1, goes the driver, and now who takes the lead of this race? Santero on the outside line out of the exit of turn 13, it's so Reese is up to P3, Reese with a lunge down the inside at the Vale chicane. Looks like Soapbox trying to use the outside line. Can't seem to get it stuck in stone. Sergio fastest lap of the race at 1:27.429. And once again, the action here in PSGL never settles down. And Reese now looking all the way for P2.
Yeah, not only that, look at that, Sergio with that battling between Soapbox, Reese and Santero has broken out that 1 second window. He's now 1.3, 1.4 seconds up the road, and that is huge for Sergio because now he hasn't got to worry too much about DRS in behind, and the more these guys battle, the better this will be for Sergio out in the race lead.
It's not only that, also Joris and more of the medium compound runners are bringing themselves closer because of it. These guys continue to fight. This gives a better opportunity for the tyres that are degrading just a little bit more, a bigger opportunity to bring themselves closer through the pack. Right now, they're not got the pace to bring themselves through into a new position, but if they can stay with them, they can use the DRS and stick with them. Right now, Reese and P3's 2.5 tenths off Santero and P2, so it's clear the racing is lighting up at the moment. Bit wide for what looked to be Race, but Santero has no DRS, no problems for Reese down the inside, doesn't even need to go down, no braking necessary to make the move stick, and McLaren up another position. And once again, this top of field at the moment has been extremely competitive. The soft compound runners getting the overall advantage, and now the DRS gap at the moment has been broken. 1 second depleted from Sergio, down to 8/10, back up to 9, but it's starting to bring himself closer towards P1. Sergio is a man on a mission.
Yeah, as is Reese, and of course Reese throughout this race has shown incredible pace so far, and he is doing everything he can to make sure he gets right onto the back of Sergio, and this could actually bode out well for him, because now with DRS you can save up a bit of that battery and then at the end of the race really go for it versus Sergio, but he has to keep a wary eye on behind him, and Santiago's not going to give this up without a fight.
No, absolutely not, and battery is so close at the moment. 30% between Sergio. Looks like it's going to be down to 16% for Reese. He's really trying to stick inside that deficit at the moment, and you can see the distance between 1 lap between the C3 soft compound tyres is extreme. Reese on 6 lap old soft compound tyres, Sergio on 5 lap old soft compound tyres. The deficit is still low, the pace between them is practically nothing, but there is some type of pace, some type of grip that clearly Sergio is getting more than what Reese is allowing himself to receive. Through Stowe, though, it looks like a really nice amount of momentum that was carried through for Reese as he enters into Vale Chicane. I'm really intrigued for these final couple of laps. Across the line, we're only going to have 4 laps remaining, and Santero's also bringing himself closer towards Reese all over again.
Yeah, and not only that, looking behind Soapbox right now, it has the advantage in terms of the ERS that he can deploy at the end of this race, and it's just going to be it's going to be all about timing for all these guys. When is the right time to go for a move? When is the right time to battle? When is the right time to push it? If I'm Reese right now, I'm more focused on Santero in behind than I am with Sergio in front of me at this moment in time.
There's one of my favorite sayings I love doing as a commentator. There's a difference between confidence and desperation, and that will separate the race winner and a podium finisher, and even someone who will finish outside the top 4. So it is really important that they keep this timing to perfection. They need to do it near the end of the race. It looks like Tio into the gravel. Unfortunate for him, who had such a great comeback. I mean, even if he was losing out time, he brought himself closer towards the pack. Also look at Santero and P3, bring himself closer, but it's about picking the right moment. If you're desperate, you'll make a move through Wellington and get re-overtaken on the hanger straight. If you're confident, Santero on the inside line. Is he going to make it 2 in 1? Yes, he is. It's 3 wide, becomes 2 wide, becomes 1 wide, and position has been set in stone for Santero up into the lead of the race.
Santero there absolutely parting the Red Sea to get himself up into the race. A virtual safety car here as Tio has retired from the session. Looks like he's lost it on the exit Stowe.
Another driver to do so. It's the only place where we've seen a crash take place. So clearly maybe taking the apex of the curb, or if you're just getting on throttle too early. I did mention with this new update that sensitivity with the throttle has been something that has changed. If that's affected no TC, I'm not sure. But whatever the case may be, turn 13 seems to be a danger place. You can see Freddie and Celia Dennis going on a new set of C3 soft compound tires. I do believe this is a little bit too late. VSC normally stays out for a very short amount of time, but have a look at that track map. What is that little yellow dot doing on the circuit? This is not a VSC. This is a safety car.
Ladies and gentlemen, what we are going to have here is obviously, as you just mentioned, the difference between desperation
and confidence.
Because it's one thing when you're in a podium battle, it's a whole other thing where it's a late safety car. Desperation does sometimes get the better of the drivers, and you see lunges that you don't normally like to see. Normally drivers won't be going for some of these lunges, but when points on the line, when there's a race win on the line, when there's a podium on the line, desperation can either turn into victory or heartbreaking defeat. We're going to find out who's going to be coming out on top here.
This is going to be an extremely close finish, and your point exactly. Desperation or confidence, but it's not just that. It's not just points on the board. It's not just where you finish in the championship. This is for who leads the championship. This is who's going to fight against the championship, contenders. This is the first just positioning of yourself in a championship fight. This shows someone where you may be for the remainder of the season, where you will fight, how you will fight, how confident you are, how desperate you are. Lap 24 of 26. Now, normally, if I'm correct with the pattern that F1 likes to do, these safety car should be in this lap, and we should get a 2-lap shootout. Now, on a fresh set of soft compound tires, Celia Dennis has now retired in the pit lane. Clearly something has gone wrong on his side, potentially just no longer feeling it, or whatever the case may be, but P12 has now left. Now it goes down to 11.
I did see what happened with Dennis here. Unfortunately, he got hit with a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car, so obviously he was going to end up at the back regardless, but it definitely, not nice to see a driver retire from the session, but obviously a late drive-through penalty. It was either going to get hit with 20 seconds added onto his time, or he was just going to finish at the back after the penalties if he did serve the said drive-through penalty. But regardless, this right now is going to be mightily interesting. Obviously, you got the top 4 all on a set of soft compound tyres. Everything reset in terms of the ERS. Safety car is in this lap. You got Fede and Gravoch at the back on fresh softs. And since I took us on the restart last time around, it's all over to you, my friend.
Well, lap 24 of 26, ladies and gentlemen. Santero will lead us away. Reese in close contention. It has been neck and neck between every single one of these drivers. One mistake and it's done. PSGL, one final time. Hold your breath. Do not blink for a second. It comes down to this. Flat to the floor. Pedal to the metal. It is Santero who pulls the trigger for green flag restart. A bit of a kick on the rear, but here comes Reese in the McLaren. It is barely separated by 1/10 and a half. And as we continue through into turn 1, followed closely into turn 2, we will approach into village at turn 3, into the 50-meter braking board. Can it be McLaren? Can it be Santero? You can see Sergio on those soft compound tires. He's been able to cool them down, get them back into the right mode. Can he potentially make it a 3-way battle? Already starting to separate itself. Santero is desperate for the race lead and the win. It's Reese who also wants it. It's Sergio as well. Anyone's game as Alex Gamer goes up to P7 against Gizmo, making another move at the moment. The Alpine's going wheel to wheel. They need to be clean and safe at the moment. It's all about position near the end of this race. 3/10 separated between Reese and Santero. Alpine continue to go wheel to wheel, going into Scott's corner. Wow, what racing we are seeing.
Yeah, and there's still sabotage going into Maggots, and Beckett says Gravoche holds on to P8 as he gets himself ahead of Ismail, but back up towards the front. Reese closing in on the back of Santero for the race lead. Is he going to look down the inside? No, he's going to think better of it this time around, but he needs to be careful because Sergio might take advantage of that if he does it too often, and then he'll end up losing the chance of a race win, potentially falling down to P3. But right now you're seeing moves in the background as the guys on the soft side, the fresh soft compound tyre are beginning to make moves up the order. It might be too little too late to get a podium out of this, but they could definitely get some good points to start off their season correctly.
Well, Gravoch is already up to P8, making a move against Freddie into P9. Lock up the speed. Gravoch at 12. Alex Gamer, but let's move up to the podium positions. 1/10 separate between Sergio and Reese. Getting onto the Wellington straight. Is it desperation? Is it confidence? How much does Sergio want this? DRS reactivated. Down the inside. Goes Sergio up. Contact is made between the McLaren and Sergio continuing on. It's Soapbox looking on the outside line. Can't get it done. So Soapbox stays in P4. Reese in P3 now. McLaren desperate to get back up into P2. Sergio squeezed them wide going into Brooklyn. They come into Cops now at turn 9. Who will it be at by the end of this race? Is it Reese coming back at him? Looking going into Baggett's and Beckett's. Had to back out of it. He's going to get the DRS going onto the hanger straight. Is it going to be Santero in P1
He's going to have no DRS. He has two drivers attacking the inside and outside. Sergio, inside line, down the inside. Goes into P1. McLaren as well. 4 P2 on the board. He's going to look around the outside. Fail chicane. Gets the rotation. Has the inside line. Gets the throttle down. Sergio will come home to win the British Grand Prix here for F4 PSGL, and everyone crossing the line almost immediately. P2 for Reese, and so it means down in P3. The podium is done. Alex Gamer is awarded DOTD. I'm sure we'll change it around. What a race and what a victory for one man and one man alone. Incredible by Sergio. Done and dusted. Silverstone, turn up to the max.
Absolutely there, as Sergio gets the move done at the end, down the hanger straight with DRS on Santero, and then of course Reese getting through to collect home that P2. But my, that late safety car at the end did bring plenty of action, and potentially what we could be seeing throughout the season, judging by how close it has been here tonight at Silverstone. But we're running for the order one more time. It's of course Sergio that takes the race win ahead of Reese in second place, and of course Santero completing the podium. P4 goes the way of Soapbox, with P5 going the way of Joris Likes Food. P6 for Sam, and then of course we got Alex Gamer in P7. Freddy there in P8 with Grab Roach up into P9, and of course Ismo rounding out the top 10. Outside the top 10, of course, we have Kevin. Then our list of non-finishers: Dennis, Tio, Samvan, Sam, Mentos, Man, and there was a handful of others, but I ran out of time to read them all, so I will quickly rewind back the stream. It was Man, and then of course it was Niels, Snipes, and of course Solax, who unfortunately did not see the checker flag here for the first race of the season. But my race we just had there, Jamie, that was pure excitement all the way to the checker flag.
It was simply incredible action, and was there anything else to really be expected? They put it all on the line, and to be honest, my point exactly, is it confidence or is it desperation? In one side, Sergio did go for the desperation, and in his point, he did win. However, will the stewards look at that squeeze that he did going into Brooklands on that final lap? That is a question we will have to get answered. Another thing, we may have those top 3 in the championship fight, but let's not count out drivers like Freddie. He had an incredible race. He just had some incredible unluckiness as well. If it worked in his favor, it could have been an incredible race to watch, and it could have been an easy 4-way battle. Unfortunately, it didn't go in his favor. It is Reese who picks up 2 points. P2, sorry. It's Santero who picks up P3, and P1 is Sergio.
Yeah, of course, and that will be the big question of whether or not the stewards will be looking at that squeeze, and it will definitely be a point of contention until the next race of the season, where of course we will be heading over to the United States for Miami. So that is where we'll be going next, and that is a very different prospect to the one here tonight at Silverstone, and we're going to see who's going to come out on top then. I would be doing interviews, but unfortunately I do have to shoot off, so I don't really have the time to do the interviews for tonight, but we will be doing interviews in the future. Obviously, Jamie, before we even wrap things up, let me ask you for your driver of the day.
Oh, you've put me on the spot here. However, it's definitely going to be one of the top contenders. Someone who continued to show their consistency, momentum through the entirety of the race. Battled through challenges like the safety cars or virtual safety cars that we encountered, even if it became an SC. We had 2 safety cars that race and still managed to have a perfect strategy, made the correct decisions, and managed to get fantastic finishes. I personally believe this rather goes down to maybe... It's between the top 3, but it's who? all of them kind of fall under that description, but it really comes down to who picked up more, even with that description. Who had the consistency, who had the pace, who had it all, who had a race win, who had more than that. Driver of the day has to be Sergio.
Well, seeing as how you have gone with Sergio for the driver of the day, I'm going to go with probably someone that was also in your minds for driver of the day. I'm going to go with the man that finished P2 in Reese, because of course he showed great pace as well. Of course, coming through from that safety car, he was down in P5 behind Joris. He managed to get through on Joris, managed to get himself ahead of Soapbox, and of course was in that battle with Santero and of course Sergio at the end. And to be honest, either one, it doesn't matter, because both of them drove fantastically through tonight. But guys, that will wrap things up for us here tonight. I have been Michael Edwards. He has been Jamie Perry. And we'll catch you for next week, round number 2 in Miami. Until then, guys, it's good night from the pair of us.
Good night.